You're a man. You buy a boat. You buy a pair of navy blue moccasin boating shoes and some white slacks. You buy another boat. You buy a captain's hat. Avast ye landlubbers, pipe aboard the captain. You buy yet another boat. You grow a beard and take up pipe smoking as an affectation. You buy a further boat. You take out a third mortgage on your home and buy another boat. Your wife, who doesn't even like sailing, leaves you. To quell your feelings of loss, you buy another boat. In the ensuing court case, you lose custody of your 3 children and your dog, Dr. Peregrine Minkpiece. Out of sheer despair, you buy another boat. You lose the house and your Wall Street job as a polisher of the stock exchange bell. You buy another boat. Destitute, you move on to one of your boats and buy another boat. We're not even sure how many boats that is right now, but
It's 9
shut
boats.
up, Nigel.
No, but it is.
But what we do know is boats are a slippery slope. And to launch all your many boats,
It's 9 boats. Ow, fuck.
you need a slippery slope. That's why you need to moor your boats at the Boat Marina off Route 1, Connecticut. The Boat Marina, it's a place for boats, no matter how many you own.
9. Good Christ, shut up.
Aren't commercials funny? And now on Radio Flange Goblet, a show with absolutely no boats in it at all.
You're listening to the After Movie Diner with your host, Jon Cross.
That's right, I am Jon Cross, but this week I'm being played by Dame Fenella Crotch Goblins as I am homesick with my own face. Hello, megalodons, troglodons, gospercaps, skunk weevils, bucket moths, people named Harry who talk too loudly at parties, women over 40 who are not afraid to tell men to go shove it, a damn packet of Walker's Cheese and Onion Crispets from 1987, Lionel Pillager, owner of most of the ham, a coven of witches, a caravan of snitches, a cacophony of ditches, Marjorie Brillo's book, I Can't Feel My Tongue, extruder apprentice Lahim Nakatashi, Vinyl Tippins, minister for baths in the afternoon with ladies named Celia, and comedy duo Ronald and Ronald Comeuppance. Welcome one and welcome all. Before we get started with this week's show, let's trawl through this stuff again. I would like to remind you again that you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/aftermoviediner. That's patreon.com/aftermoviediner. And not only get some great rewards, but get the personal reward of knowing you paid it forward once. You can then smugly lord your goodness over all your friends at your next monthly Bring a Corpse and a Hammer gathering. You can also go to aftermoviediner.com and click on the Amazon link in the top right hand corner before you do your Amazon shopping. It costs you absolutely no extra, but for everything you buy, Amazon kicks us a few shekels. Finally, you can go to miscplumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com, that's MISC plumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com, and buy the latest album from Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures, Former Glory, which features the wondrous Dr. Console, the awesome Johnny the Horns Cole, and the freedom-loving Jay Mayo on backing vocals. It's just $6 for 16 tracks, and every single tiny penny goes back to keeping AfterMovieDiner.com and this very podcast you're listening to alive. So please help us out where you can, and if you can't, at least do rate and review us wherever the podcast is found and help spread the word. Well, with that, let's carry on with Sleazy Spader Springtime 3. 'Tis the Sleazon. Every year you wait anxiously for us to do this, well at least Andie Lunn does, and so we couldn't exactly disappoint you. So let's all head over now to a dingy apartment where sprawled liberally on a greasy floor in a blousy shirt, pursing his lips, is old James Spader, and observing him through a keyhole, rubbing their thighs and panting like puppies after some libation, is this week's host of the After Movie Diner. 'Tis the Sleazon! Oh, it's Sleazy Spader Springtime. Welcome to the show. Oh, it's a Sleazy Spader Springtime. I want you all to know that if you please, there's James Spader Sleazon. It's got nowhere else to go. So loosen all your blouses, give your nose a damn good blow. It's Sleazy Spader Springtime show. Oh yeah, it is You've never seen Boston Legal?
No.
Well, while I was in Boston this past weekend, I went to... No, I didn't go to the actual building they use for Crane, Pool and Schmidt, but I went to, like, that area, like the financial legal district, and I did a video, which you can find both on my Twitter and on our Facebook group, that basically goes into Sleazy James Spader's relationship with Boston and what Boston has to do to kind of maintain the sleaze.
They've got a job to do keeping it up.
They have.
No pun intended.
I'm sorry, there's an ambulance going by right now.
Oh, fuck, it's always dying when we're recording. It's just...
Hello and welcome to this episode of the After Movie Diner, and I'm going to begin... Oh, there we go. That is the sweet, sweet sound of me uncapping the tastiest soda beverage around. A sweet, sweet Boylan's. And on this episode, we're going to be discussing 1989's Sex, Lies, and Videotape. And I'm going to be discussing it with an old friend of the show. A very old friend of the show. A man who most of you will be familiar with. And if you're not, well, your life is incomplete. It is none other than the Doctor of Action himself, but is also a key sleazeologist. It is Dr. Paul Crowson, sir. It is a pleasure to have you back in the diner.
Well, it's a pleasure to be back on. How the devil are you?
I have been absolutely fine. I've been wading through Sleazy Spader Springtime. I can hear actually outside right now there is an ambulance or a police car going by. Either way, probably ferrying another one of Spader's victims who has become overindulged with fluids and needs to be rushed somewhere to have their orifices pumped.
Or somebody slipped on Spader jizz.
Yeah, it's one or the other, isn't it?
It's one, yeah. It accounts for most of the stuff that goes on here. That's why the NHS is so deprived in England.
It is.
When Spader comes over, he just jizzes everywhere and people just fall over. Legs akimbo.
Yeah, I mean, when Spader comes over, he literally comes over. Everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everything. So, yes, it's our third episode of the third Sleazy Spader Springtime. 'Tis the Sleazon. And we are talking Sex, Lies, and Videotape. This will be the third as well. Sleazy Spader Springtime episode this season, which begins with the letter S. Unfortunately, the fourth one will not begin with the letter S, so we're going to ruin everything. But so far we've had Star-Crossed, Speaking of Sex, and now Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
Yep.
And what's interesting is that even though Sex, Lies, and Videotape, Speaking of Sex, both have sex in the title, weirdly enough, Star-Crossed is the one where Spader's sex is most needed because he manages to save an entire alien race. But this one, he's fairly sleazy in this, predominantly sleazy in this.
I think this is the one where he became Sleazy Spader, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen some of the 80s ones where he's certainly flouncy and bordering on weirdly sleazy. But you're right, this is the one where someone looked at him. This is sort of pre-Crash, pre-Secretary, and they kind of looked at him and went, if you need someone to be purse-lipped, mumbly, and sleazy, Spader's the very boy.
Oh, yeah.
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 So what's your history with the film, sir? First of all, are you a fan? Secondly, when did you see it first time?
First time was last night.
Okay, then. Good.
Yeah. So first time was last night, but it was one of those films that was... it was quite popular because it was like one of the very first independent films in '89. So I can remember reading through magazines and seeing it and thinking, "Oh, I bet that's a bit, that's a bit naughty."
Oh, I bet there's nipples in that.
Yeah, at least one.
Yeah.
There's none.
There's none. Absolutely no nipples. It lacks nipples, which is its first problem. That's its first problem. But you're right. It is sort of the what's the word? revealing to the world the introduction to the world of none other than Steven Soderbergh, depending on how you pronounce his name, who is the incredibly prolific film director and producer, who started making movies this was his feature-length film.
Feature-length debut, yeah.
This was his debut. So this was his debut. He then goes on to make a whole slew of movies, peaking probably with sort of Ocean's 11.
It's his best film.
Ocean's 11, Traffic, Erin Brockovich, The Limey, Out of Sight. That was his sweet spot. Those 5 films. I think that was probably his sweet spot. He then got a bit wanky again with like Full Frontal and Solaris. Ocean's 12 is, people think is a real kind of ego-stroking mess. There was a little pick back up with Ocean's 13. But then everything since then, I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of The Informant. Haywire, I would have loved to have seen him do more stuff like that. A nice female starring action film, which sadly did not make Gina Carano the star that we all hoped it would. But a cracking cast and some great action in that.
Yeah, it's a good film. Not bad at all.
Not bad at all. What else have I seen? I haven't seen The Magic Mikes, and I'm not interested in Logan Lucky because I'm not a fan of the cast particularly. But he's had a run of it. He's had a very
good career. He's done a lot behind the scenes as well. I think he's one of those that just loves filmmaking. So if his friends call him up and ask him to do assistant directing work, second unit, I think he goes and does a lot of that as well. So.
And he's produced with Clooney back in the sort of early 2000s when old Clunes was on his upward trajectory as well.
Yeah, he's got a good crew of friends, but certainly I think Ocean's 11's his most stylish. I mean, Out of Sight's pretty damn good as well. But
I mean, Out of Sight's probably my favourite film of his, followed closely by Ocean's 11. And The Limey is probably my third favourite film of his.
Tell him I'm coming!
Tell him I'm coming! I love that movie. Wonderful to see Terence Stamp and Fonda going tete-a-tete, mano a mano. It's, he's done some sort of interesting genre stuff. He can err on the side of sort of hipster douchebaggery with the editing and the different film stock and stuff. And sometimes, like in Out of Sight, it really works. And other times you're just like, get on with it, Soderbergh. But it's fine. People are allowed to be up and down. And a bit like Michael Douglas and Matt Damon in Behind the Candelabra or whatever it was called. They were up and down quite a bit, if you know what I mean.
Method. They were really screwing.
I'm talking about butt sex. And, but he starts. He bursts onto the scene. Or rather, it's less of a burst. It's more of a slide onto the scene with the late 80s sleaze films, Sex, Lies and Videotape, which, like you say, kind of predates your rise of Smith, Rodriguez, Linklater, Tarantino, which kind of starts in the early 90s. So this is sort of the first one that sees that.
It's the pioneering movement, I'd say. I mean, it's a small cast, small budget. I mean, you only look at it now and think, God, I bet that had a huge budget. But most of the actors in it weren't really well known. So it's probably really cheap to make.
Yeah, I mean, they're a name cast to us now, right? They're a name cast to us now. I mean, James Spader is undoubtedly the biggest name in it.
And at that time, definitely.
Oh,
and
at that time, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say most of the budget went on,
flouncy black shirts for
a mousse for his hair.
Whale semen that he uses for his hair. Yeah, this is in terms because everyone's like, well, what do you mean Andie MacDowell? But actually, in terms of Andie MacDowell's rise to fame, Green Card is the year after this. and Hudson Hawk.
Hawk.
Which is a couple of years after this. And then she wouldn't do Groundhog Day until 93, and then Four Weddings till 94. So actually, this is, you're right, it's the only other film she's been in before this is St. Elmo's Fire.
And that was just like a bit part, wasn't it?
It was a bit part, and it was back when she was still a model, I believe.
Yeah.
Spader is, Spader's already had quite the career. From Tough Turf, New Kid, Star-Crossed, Pretty in Pink, Mannequin, Baby Boom, Less Than Zero, Wall Street, Jack's Back, all come before Sex, Lies and Videotapes. But it's certainly as he is picking, I think, more interesting, weird roles. Like Less Than Zero kind of starts it, starts his darker, sleazier. Well, if you want someone with sort of questionable morals and maybe kind of androgynous and pervasive sexuality, get Spader. I think that starts with Less Than Zero. Appears a little bit in Jack's Back, but not so much, and then goes full-blown in Sex, Lies and Videotapes.
And he didn't read the script. He just saw the title and was like, fucking in that.
I'm doing that.
Definitely.
I'm doing that. And then, of course, follows this up with Bad Influence and White Palace, which also have the sleaze element. He gives the sleaze a break for a while, but comes back in 1993 with Dream Lover, which we have covered previously on this show, and continues to be sleazy in Wolf. And then, pinnacle of sleaze with 1996 Crash. Where he leaves nary a leg wound unpenetrated.
That'll be on his tombstone.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, what is Sex, Lies and Videotape all about? Well, it is about an aimless drifter named Graham, played by the bemulleted James Spader, who is so sexual that even as an impotent man, can bring every single person on the planet to orgasm and create a insane video library of sexual confessions while also wearing a series of flouncy black shirts. He lives in a car, shaves in gas station bathrooms, and changes from one black flouncy shirt to another black flouncy shirt in the same bathroom. And he interrupts the lives of an old college friend of his, played by
Peter Gallagher.
Peter Gallagher, that people will know later on in his career from Shortcuts and then The Player, weirdly enough, also with Andie MacDowell. And then he went on to be in The OC and a bunch of other things as well. And he's a singer of note. He can sing a note, not all the notes, just one note.
Just the one.
And then Laura San Giacomo, who I know from The Stand. Isn't she the woman in The Stand?
I think so. I know her from Quigley Down Under with Tom Selleck.
Okay, then. But yes, let's go back and see. I believe she was in The Stand. Yes, she was in 1994, 5 years after this. But you're right, she does Quigley Down Under. She's in Pretty Woman. After this, she does Under Suspicion. Nina Takes a Lover, The Stand, and some other things. But never quite hits the big time. But is certainly, I think, very good.
Yeah, she's good.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
So she is having an affair with Peter Gallagher, who is married to Andie MacDowell. And Spader sort of sleazes and oozes his way into this world and kind of disrupts it, while at the same time facing his own inner demons and then in a weird way sort of putting it all back together again. And the movie sort of ends with a weirdly sort of positive Hollywood ending, considering it's such an indie film.
Yeah, it's a really strange ending.
Yeah, because it sort of ends with everything's all okay then.
Yeah, it's just missing the You know, that
Yeah,
ending.
yeah.
Everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy except the asshole who gets his comeuppance. But up until that ending, which is sort of a strange one for this kind of film, it's it can be seen from several different ways. Predominantly, it can be seen as the issue between two sisters. It's sort of a very pro. I don't know if it's pro-woman film, but I guess it is, because Spader is not sexually threatening in a sort of usual masculine way, and Peter Gallagher is the most cliched character, who is sort of a sleazeball lawyer who refuses his wife her right to work and is all the time stooping her sister. He's the most kind of cliche character, and he gets his comeuppance. So, I mean, it's a fairly pro-female film for a young male director, I think.
Oh, very, very much so, yeah. Yeah, so especially, like you say, with Yuppie Gallagher getting his comeuppance at the end.
But just thinking about it, though, it has a touch of Hannah and her sisters about it.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I was thinking it was something that you wouldn't be surprised if you found out that Woody Allen had made it. Yeah,
I mean, except that I don't know that Woody's ever gone that far with the explicit sexuality. Even in something like Deconstructing Harry or whatever, it's all fairly comedic sex. And even
Woody Allen would have been good in James Spader as well. They go, just tell me what you like to do.
I'm trying to picture your face while you orgasm. That is unpleasant.
It's good.
I like it. It's red. And, most people are like, oh, my God, Woody Allen. I'm not even going there again. Guys, until someone shows me some fucking evidence or he's arrested, shut the fuck up about Woody Allen.
Guy's a legend.
Yeah. And again, I was saying the other day to Kim, do you remember when we could just sort of watch entertainment and we didn't need to know everything that was going on? I mean, I know that sounds... It's not that I'm not happy about the revelations of some of the horrible guys in Hollywood. I'm all for, genuinely like draining the swamp of Hollywood. But
absolutely, but let's not go fucking stupid. And it's more trial by social media. It's not being done in the courts.
But also, I do miss the days when you could just watch a film or just watch a thing and not be
Jim
like,
will fix it.
Yeah. That's a reference to the British TV show Jim Will Fix It that was hosted by Jimmy Savile, who turned out to be an outrageously horrible paedophile. Yeah. What? Which is horrible, really. But again, we all grew up watching it and all used to love that show. And retroactively, we have to be like, no, we hate it. But I don't know. I just missed it. I'm not trying to say anything more than a human statement of, I remember when I could just make a joke or watch entertainment and not it have to be a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and sadly, mate, the problem is the ones who have probably got away with it the most are probably still getting away with it because they're the ones who can pay people off the most.
Like the president. So...
Yeah.
So, anyway, we divest. What did we do? I don't know what we did. I'm trying to use a long word and it doesn't need to. We just went off on a tangent.
We were saying about it's reminiscent of Hannah and her sisters.
Yes, except that Michael Caine in Hannah and her sisters is slightly more sympathetic or empathetic. He's not as much of a shit. I mean, he's a shit because he does what he does, but he does it for slightly more
as well with
human reasons, I think.
Yeah, definitely human reasons, but also with that, Michael Caine is in that he's genuinely, pissed off with himself for doing it.
Yes.
I know you can't just say, well, that's all right then.
Yeah, no, it's a finer line. It's a finer line.
But he knows what he's doing wrong. In Sex, Lies and Videotape, Peter Gallagher clearly does not give one fuck about what he's doing.
No,
he's having his cake and eating it.
Even after Andie MacDowell one evening, because she is the disenfranchised and despondent wife of Peter Gallagher, who is wrestling with her own feelings about the world and also the feelings about her marriage. One night, decides to confront Peter Gallagher, actually apropos of nothing, because we haven't really seen her be suspicious up until that point. We, the audience, know that he's stripping his sister, but her sister rather. But there's been no indication up until that point that Andie MacDowell would ever even suspect it. But she accuses him of it. He lies very convincingly and says, "No, no, no, of course not." And then the very next day, we see him round the sister's house. So even after that, instead of him saying, "Hey, we should cool it down because I think my wife is onto something," he doesn't. He's just like, "Well, we should do something." And it's actually the sister who says, "All right, at this point, we should probably not be doing anything." You know what I mean? So it's got a bit of Hannah and her sisters, as if James Spader had oozed his way onto set and gone, "Barbara Hershey, sit down and masturbate for me." It's kind of like that.
That'd have been. I think Max von Sydow would have done that in that.
Yes.
I want you to masturbate in front of me. I'd watch that.
While I film it. If Jesus came back and ever saw you masturbating, he'd never stop joining in. You're only going to get the jokes of this episode now if you've seen Hannah and her sisters. And if you're...
It made a good double episode, actually.
Yeah, and if you're under 30, you're probably like, "I'm never watching any Woody Allen movies because of the thing that person said on the internet that I've never met."
Like my tweets.
Yeah.
Please like my tweets.
But anyway.
The two sisters in it are so opposite. Laura Sandra Jang, whatever her name is, she's
Giacomo, I think is how you pronounce it.
She's very in touch with her sexuality, will go out of her way to sort of be out there. And Andie MacDowell sort of very prim, proper, probably only touched Peter Gallagher's penis once.
Yeah. And
I'm guessing.
It's interesting because we see some of her therapy sessions with her therapist, who is fucking useless, by the way. I mean,
he really does seem like he's getting off on it because all of a sudden he just goes, "Have you ever masturbated?"
And he's sort of, he's sort of dismissive as well of her problems. Like, she's trying to explain her anxieties not only about the world, but then how they play into her life and her relationship and everything else. And he's just, she's like, "Oh, I'm thinking about all the garbage that piles up in the world and we should really be doing more about it." And she has some environmental concerns and some homeless concerns and feeding children in Africa or whatever. And he's just like, "Don't worry about that, my dear. Tell me about that time you touched yourself."
Well, that time you flick your bean.
Which is, a slightly odd thing, but it is what it is. I mean, I suppose the movie is interested in the cliches of sort of feminine sexuality and then also in kind of knocking down those cliches, I think. I've read lots of reviews, for example, online where women have actually reviewed the film and gone, "At last a film that talks about the fact that we masturbate." And I know to men who are like, "Yeah, we wank," and also men who are like,
really, there's no question whether blokes do it or not. Right, you just see a bloke and go, "You do." He wanks.
Even Spader, who is in the movie, claims to be impotent around other people, uses the videotapes that he records of women talking about their sexuality to get off. Like, the whole thing is just him trying to...
That is his fetish. That is Spader's fetish, in it. Just make you wonder how he got... Because he's got shitloads of videotapes.
Well, he's James Spader. He just flounces into a bar in a black flouncy shirt and goes, "Hello, darling, I live in my car. Can I videotape your innermost desires?" And she goes, "My knickers are already off. Where do you want me?" That's probably what happens.
Because if that was me in that role, she'd come in and Andie MacDowell would go, "Oh, you got videotape." With
well, that's not fair. Your wife and you were childhood sweethearts, so it's not exactly fair.
Yeah, I know, but I'm no player. I'm no James Spader.
No, nobody is. Nobody is.
Well, Roger Moore would have done. He'd have shit him on the floor with the amount of videotapes he's got. He's like fucking Blockbuster.
But Roger Moore wouldn't be able to be a benign, he wouldn't be able to sit. Roger Moore was he'd have already had them pregnant before he even turned the camera on.
James Spader would put on a Roger Moore video, and Roger Moore would just turn around to the camera as he's doing it with our doggy style, raise his eyebrow and go, "Impotent, not on your melody."
Yeah, not on your life. But no, it's what Spader does so well is, and why it's Sleazy Spader Springtime, is because he is so insidiously sleazy that he doesn't need to touch them. Like he is so fascinated in the nuance, nitty gritty, and even foreplay, like pre-foreplay conversation is enough from Spader. I feel like if any of the women actually got, full-blown Spader, they would probably die. Like he contains his prowess and his sleaziness so tightly wound within a big flouncy black shirt and a mullet that it's quite wonderful to watch. I also don't think anyone in this movie talks at full volume, apart from maybe in a couple of scenes. Most scenes, they're talking like this.
Well, because
sleazy ways.
In his conversation with her when they go to look at the apartment, then they go back to they're just out for a drink, and all of a sudden he's just like, "Yeah, I'm impotent." To Andie MacDowell, and she's like, "What?" He's like, "What? You've only met her like twice."
Well, she admits something very personal about.
Oh, she says she doesn't really like sex.
Yeah. And this is the other thing as well, is that, so it's about two sisters. This is kind of where, like you say, one is sexually carnivorous, and Andie MacDowell is very button up and very prim and proper. But you kind of feel, not because she claims to not like sex or not kind of understand sex or not really understand why everyone goes on about sex. But I think it's a massive repression on her part that she has put on herself because her life has been about not being her sister. When anyone talks to her about sex or about even talking loudly or even laughing at a rude joke or saying a bad word, she's like, "Oh, you sound just like my sister." It's all about her not wanting to be her sister rather than her being herself. And I think her repression is born out from that. And I think the reason why Soderbergh makes Spader impotent is two reasons.
So he's no threat. One, he's not a threat to her.
Yeah. And secondly, so that they have almost something in common. First of all, he's not a threat to any of the women, so he's not coming off as sort of rapey. And the second one is that he is then... she's not into sex and he can't even have sex. So their love, I guess, or their attraction to each other or their conversations to each other are sort of more personal and more...
they can connect on a deeper level.
Yeah, I guess, is what it's all about. Whereas the sister and your man Gallagher are more the base, lustful, lying swine.
Bastards.
Yeah. But it's not, what's interesting about it is that I think while you watch it, it feels very deep. But when you actually break it down afterwards, it's not really about anything, and it's not particularly deep at all. And it's got some good performances, but I'm not quite sure why everyone kind of went crazy over it.
I think it's because it was just there wasn't many films like it. There probably was in the 70s, but certainly not in the 80s.
Right.
No, I mean, Fatal Attraction wasn't like that, was it? That was just like a sexual thriller.
Right.
This was more about people saying what they want to do, or James Spader's going, "I just like to have sex."
It's new and it's new and different in the sense that it takes old tropes and old cliches and kind of looks at them through a different lens, but only slightly. Like, it doesn't.
No, I think for the late 80s, I think it probably, if we'd have been going to the cinema at that time, as we are now, we'd have probably gone, "Oh, that's quite interesting." But obviously,
well, I wouldn't. I would have gone to see Ghostbusters 2. I was 9.
I did actually go and see Ghostbusters 2, and I was like, I could have done with more James Spader and his flaccid cock.
That was Ghostbusters 3. That was the tentative Ghostbusters 3 that they never made.
Yeah, Slimer.
Yeah. The Ghostbusters have to find the soul of James Spader's cock that has been lost in Hades inside the skull of a prostitute. And they have to go into Hades and extract the soul of Spader's penis and put it back into Spader by midnight on Halloween, or he is forever flaccid. That was the Ghostbusters 3 script. I've read it. It's fantastic. But they couldn't afford it. It would have been a huge budget just to replicate Hades without CGI and all that stuff.
Originally, the same year, Star Trek V was out, and they were going to travel to go and meet God, and it was just going to be James Spader, and he was going to go, "Have you found the cure for impotency yet, please?" Yeah. Before they obviously went on to go and star in Boston Legal together.
They did. Him and Shatner, quite a pair. And actually, it's it's sort of bizarre because we're rewatching Boston Legal now with the missus, and the I remember when I first watched Boston Legal, we were like, ha ha ha, so funny. But the sexual politics in Boston Legal is outrageous. I mean, listen, I'm not one to be like, oh, misogyny and blah 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 blah, but even as a joke in Boston Legal, it becomes very near the knuckle, because essentially him and Shatner rather, spend the whole 5 seasons, every time a woman so much as breezes past their office, they go, "Whoa, I wonder if I could fuck her," is basically the whole of Boston Legal.
Yeah, I don't think it get made now.
No,
I can't see it getting renewed. No, I mean, for a farewell season.
I think it gets away with it because it does a lot of sort of politicking, and it kind of talked about the issues of the day, and it's definitely a kind of Bush era show where they're trying to sort of right some of the wrongs or to kind of talk some of the truths of the kind of zeitgeist topics of the time, but around that, like outside of that, it's essentially Spader wanting to sleep with absolutely everybody, and Shatner wanting to sleep with absolutely everybody, and most of the time they do. And also, apparently, every single female lawyer on the planet is an incredibly hot 24-year-old with a push-up bra and a short miniskirt. Now,
is that not true?
Now, they might be hugely empowered as women. That doesn't go without saying. But they're still there for Spader to be like, "Hello, my dear." And it's so funny because it's just at the point where Spader was kind of gaining a lot of weight and moving into his middle age. And it's almost, oh, for fuck's sake, what is going on now? Sorry. Yeah, so it was just at the point where Spader was kind of gaining weight and pushing into middle age. And that almost adds to the perverseness of his lascivious kind of drooling over much younger women. Because it is very much like, I know that I am not at my sexual peak, because that was probably, Pretty in Pink era Spader
when he could pull a Marlboro out of the packet.
Right.
Into his lips, yeah.
Well, even because there was even when did Buffy come out? Like about mid-90s, right?
Yes, about 95, 96?
95, 96, I think. There's even that thing in the first series of Buffy where she's walking through the corridor, and I think Charisma Carpenter says to Sarah Michelle Gellar something about James Spader, and Sarah Michelle Gellar goes, "Oh, he totally has to call me." So even in like the mid to late 90s, Spader was still the sexual dreams of every high school girl.
I bet he did. Yeah, I bet he did as well. But he saw that episode and he was like,
he saw that episode. He was like, he called up his agent and went, "Get me Sarah Michelle Gellar's telephone number."
I want to record her talking about frigging herself.
Oh, I see you're not wearing any underwear, my dear.
I mean, he's particularly creepy in Sex, Lies and Videotape when he's interviewing the sister.
Yes.
And he sort of just lies on the floor to talk to her. You're thinking, yeah, that was improv.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, well, I like to think that Spader's natural habitat is wearing, a flowing shirt and lying loosely on the floor while someone. I mean, it would not surprise me at all if you went if I don't know, Spader's home was suddenly on the news or something, and they found boxes and boxes of actual videotapes, because he is so believable as this character.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably his fee to keep those tapes.
Well, we do at the end of each Sleazy Spader episode talk about what he took from each film and has displayed in his Sleazatorium.
Oh, it's definitely tapes.
But the tapes is the obvious thing. We'll talk more about how that works at the end of the episode, because sometimes it's an obvious thing, but sometimes it's the thing you wouldn't expect, but kind of heightens the disturbing nature of his sleaze.
Right, yeah, I know what it is. Then I already know what it is.
Okay, well we'll discuss that in 10 minutes. But
yeah.
But so what? Fill us in then. More of your opinion about the film and sort of some of the things that jumped out at you, sir.
The thing that jumped out at me is I think Soderbergh fooled us all. I think this is actually just a documentary about James Spader.
Yes, definitely.
I think he said, "I'm going to follow you around for a few days," and he goes, "Oh, I'm going to my mate's house, who I used to go to college with." And Soderbergh was like, "Could be interesting. Don't forget to take your tapes." But
right. I think he probably spent a week with Soderbergh, and in Spader's apartment, and Soderbergh just kept looking over at the mantelpiece and going, I'm noticing you've got a lot of tapes over there. Yeah, they're my films. Oh, what kind of films? I didn't know you were a filmmaker. Oh, they're films where I videotape women talking about pleasuring themselves, and Soderbergh's like, okay. And then he slowly left the apartment. But it was so haunting to him that a few years later he had to come back and write this film.
Yeah, I've made you impotent. And Spade was like, "Who's going to believe that?"
Because you are impotent, but somehow you still managed to get every woman in the film off. Oh, well, that's fine then.
Yeah, of course. No, you see, it's one of those films that I'm sort of watching it and I'm thinking, well, not a lot's happening. But it is one that you think about, and I'll definitely rewatch it again. It's not a bad film at all. I mean, if it was made in France, it'd be hailed as a complete masterpiece by now.
Well, what was funny? What was it that I was reading about it? It was released somewhere, and everyone went expecting some sort of it was released. I think it was Asia or somewhere. And everyone went expecting a Western porn film, and they were really excited to see white men screw. I don't know what it was. I don't know. Yeah, pubes or whatever. I don't know. And instead it was this, and I feel like it didn't do so well because of that. But it was a big, I remember it coming out, and I was 9, so it was definitely a big. Sort of release, and got a lot of press and made names for sort of everyone who was in it, I think.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've got the Blu-ray of it, and Andie MacDowell, they did a reunion at Sundance, because it sort of cleared up at Sundance, didn't it? Before Sundance was really big.
Right.
But Andie MacDowell sort of said, I wouldn't have acted in so many things if it wasn't for this film. And she gets a lot of shit, Andie MacDowell.
Well, because she's shit.
Yeah. But Four Winds and a Funeral was definitely not written for her. She definitely took the role off somebody else, but she's not bad in this at all, really. Playing this sort of put upon wife, she's fairly decent in it.
That's one of the things I would actually say. I mean, it's funny. I'm looking at the questions that we have on the Facebook group, and Jim asks Andie MacDowell why. But I have to say that I was watching this the other day again, trying to find fault with her performance, because I'm like, oh, she's bound to be awful. And actually, I think she's really good in the role. And I think that she is, if you are looking for a kind of Southern woman who is clearly attractive, but has this sort of button-up conservative kind of nature, and also doesn't really, like, the interesting thing about Andie MacDowell is she's clearly attractive, but I don't find on screen that she has any sex appeal.
Yeah, she's kind of weird in that respect.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't, like, what's interesting about the film is, the woman who's meant to have all the sex appeal, Laura San Giacomo, does, I think.
Yeah.
Like, she's very casually sexy in the film. Even when she's like grunging out in her apartment in just like a long shirt and a pair of leggings or whatever, like, she's sexy.
Yeah.
Whereas Andie MacDowell is not, like, I don't find her sexy. I get that she's a beauty, but I don't find her sexy, and I think she's not really meant to be in the film. I mean, there is that bit later on where she finds out that they're cheating, and is meant to have a little bit of a, well, screw it, I'm going to go over to Spader and kind of do one of his tapes and whatever.
Do they fuck?
Do they fuck? I don't know.
Because it's sort of, you see him sort of go over to her on the chair, and she sort of brings him in, and then the camera stops. I'm thinking, did she cure him, and did he cure her?
I mean, I think that's the implication, isn't it?
Yes.
And either that, or they found some mutual moment of peace and satisfaction that isn't necessarily fully sexual, but was what they were both looking for.
Yeah.
And I don't think it needs to be. I don't think they had like some wild, trash my apartment. I think a lesser film. I think a worse film or a more
a film today would have them rolling around the apartment.
Right. Yeah, trashing shit and whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing is that whether they show that or not, I don't think Andie MacDowell could have brought that. I don't think she's that kind of performer, and therefore I think that those scenes where she is sort of tender with him before the camera goes off work, because you feel the intimacy between them without necessarily feeling the sort of sexual chemistry between them. And I think that's it leaves it at a more sort of romantic, inward, thoughtful place than it does a sort of lustful or carnal place. And you can't really tell, because when Peter Gallagher leaves his apartment, having watched the tape, and then steps out,
fires the last shot at...
he just admits that he screwed the woman that Spader has kind of come back into town to maybe reconnect with. Which I think he thinks is... he's finally resigned himself to the fact he's like, well, Spader slept with her, but I'm not going to give him the satisfaction of getting everything he wants. So, by the way, I slept with Elizabeth, fuck you, kind of thing, and walks away. But, and it's, it's interesting. But I think also at that point, Spader's maybe moved past that relationship anyway, or realized that relationship, pursuing Elizabeth, would not be the best idea.
Yeah. Fancies a bit of Andie.
He does.
He does.
But again, at the end, it's not a thing where, it's not that they are now cured of their sexual issues.
It's weird because
it's
at
more
the
that
end,
they're like a romantic, happy, sort of friendly couple almost.
Yeah, I mean, there's more. You see more sort of intimacy and love between Andie MacDowell and James Spader at the end than you ever see between her and her husband.
Right.
During the film, even sort of when they're in bed next to each other, it does look really forced and.
Well, that's why I think that Andie MacDowell is like a good choice, because I don't. Yeah. I think that she's not meant to be a sort of sex object as much as Spader has probably turned. Like, if there's a sequel, James Spader's probably turned her into an actual sex object.
Yeah, she's on the game.
But in this one, I think that it's sort of more tender and sensitive than that, and I think that's where she.
I think it's what they're both looking for.
Plays well.
Yeah, because James Spader sort of say I was a pathological liar. Treated people like shit, and I think he's just trying to reconnect with somebody on a human level. That's what he's doing in the tapes, just to see what women are really about. And now he knows, and he's going to try and make it work with Mrs. MacDowell. Yeah. Miss MacDowell.
Whereas somehow they contrive that his extramarital affair loses Gallagher his wife, his home, and his job. Somehow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange choice of having a dicky bow on at the end. Because I was thinking, if you couldn't be any more of a prick, you decided to stop wearing a dicky bow to work. Because I was thinking, you've not worn one of those before.
Yeah. It looks awkward. They've kind of tried to dress him up like a kind of prim and proper Southern lawyer. You expect him to have an enormous belly, be mopping his brow with a handkerchief, and be like, now tell me, boy, did you steal the apple? Like that kind of...
Yeah, Colonel Sanders is sitting at the desk. Oh, you want me to represent KFC, do you?
Yeah. So
it's a really weird choice. And it kind of implied that because he's lost his wife, because he's lost his lover, he's sort of took his eyes off his work, and he's starting to lose clients. And you don't know what his boss is going to say to him at the end, but it's probably along the lines of, you're out.
Get knotted.
Yeah.
Get stuffed, Gallagher. And he's like, oh, it's all right. I've got a lucrative second career crushing watermelons with a hammer.
Yeah, and I'm a bow tie model.
The Gallagher joke, I think, only works in America because there's a stand-up comedian or a stand-up performer who's a prop comic called Gallagher who just hits things with a hammer, like watermelons and things.
I bet he's huge, right?
He was very popular for a long time, yes. It was like him and Carrot Top. They were the guys. But yeah, so Jim asked Andie MacDowell why. I think we've covered that. I mean, I think actually she's very well cast. I think it's to do with...
You can see why after this film she started getting gigs.
Oh, yeah, completely. And you can also see why those gigs don't work for her. Like, and I think I put my finger on it because I know Spader put his finger on it. No, but I think it's her lack of sexual chemistry on screen.
Yeah.
In the sense that when you see her in Groundhog Day, you have the big issue with Groundhog Day and casting her is you have no idea why Phil Connors would do all that he would do to win her, because she's not desirable, or certainly not desirable to 90% of the audience, as far as I'm aware. Either from a moral standpoint, she seems incredibly up her own ass, and I always drink a thing to world peace. I'm like, fuck off. Right, yeah. And on the other hand, she doesn't seem to have any sexual sort of attraction whatsoever, and wears horrible waistcoats.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have probably gone off with Ned Ryerson. There in that.
Ned Bing! And in fact, James Spader probably did. And in Four Weddings and a Funeral, the thing that doesn't quite ring true is, you know, they're meant to have had this sort of big sexual attraction. Like, it's written, I think the script is written, that first night that they spend together, with the whole, like, honeymoon joke, it's the first time the guy gets to see the wife's bottom or whatever. Like, that sequence where they're having sex in the hotel, that is meant to be a more kind of, you know, the most amazing one-night stand that would make two people kind of want to see each other again when they bump into each other again. Do you know what I mean? And she just doesn't exude that. You know what I mean? So I think actually this is probably one of her best performances because the whole purpose of it is she's not meant to be that person.
Yeah. That'd be horrible for her, wouldn't it? Why have I got the role? Because you're just not sexy.
Don't get me wrong, love. You're beautiful. I mean, I think comparatively, you are beautiful. But there's no sex there. None whatsoever. Yeah. Bland as a wall of beige.
Look at my pants. I've not got a stiffy once. I don't know if Soderbergh talks like that.
We've not done any American accents. All we've been doing is Northern and British accents, as if everyone on the planet has those accents. But that's fine. Andy Lund says, I think I'm the only person on the planet that has a thing for Andie MacDowell. I can understand having a thing for Andie MacDowell. I just don't have a thing for Andie MacDowell myself. But I can understand it from a...
Roddy McDowell. Definitely. Friday night, he was a hot piece of ass.
Roddy McDowell, maybe. Malcolm McDowell, definitely. Andie MacDowell, probably not. And who was the one who wrote, what's the... Oh, no, that's the joke in Space where he's like, I'm Andie McNabb, I'm Andie McNabb, I'm Andie MacDowell. Shit. Do you remember that in Space when he's trying to do the military, he's trying to get back into the TA?
Yeah.
And he's being
Nick
interviewed.
Frost.
Yeah, Nick Frost is being interviewed, and in his head he's like, I'm Andie McNabb, I'm Andie McNabb, I'm Andie MacDowell. Shit. Andy Lund said, I guess you needed some high-level spades after last time, because it was awful last time, and said my Boston Legal Tour video was hilarious, by the way. Thank you very much. You can check it out, as I said before, on Twitter and in the group. Jay Mayo asks, where do babies come from? He's asking for a friend. Considering he has a teenage daughter, that's worrying. But, Doc, do you want to field that one?
They come from when you kiss woman.
They come from James Spader's pouch, I believe.
I think so. I think he keeps a few in there as spares.
Yeah.
Ask him. He'll have them.
Yeah. Andy Lund also says, a quick question for you. I presume he was only in a motion capture suit for Age of Ultron. Do you think he made any particular modifications to the motion capture suit for his own sleazy pleasure? Doc?
Yeah, he had somewhere to put his WD-40, a little hole to grease himself up.
A little hole to grease himself up. No, I've seen photos of him in the suit.
Did he actually do the...
He did the mocap, yep. He did the mocap.
Oh, I thought he just did the voice.
No, he did the mocap. That's why Ultron is so irrepressibly oozy. And, like, there's a bit where Ultron comes out at the very beginning before he's become, like, Super Ultron. And he's just, like, parts of things that have built themselves. And he's, like, dripping fuel and oil. And he's like... and he's all like...
Can you stop doing that, James?
Yeah.
We can't get that off the screen.
And it's the Ultron should have stayed that way the whole movie. I mean, I know that wouldn't have made him much of a villain, but it would have been amazing if he was just like the tar man from Return of the Living Dead. You know, like that man who comes like out of the tar pit in Return of the Living Dead. That's what Ultron was like. He was like
Yeah, I remember.
That should have been Ultron the whole time. Do I think he made any particular modifications to it? Well, I can imagine. I don't think he made any modifications to the suit, unless he requested some outrageous velvet codpiece or something, which I would imagine he probably did. But I think that what he probably insisted upon was a local volleyball...
A sex confession tape from Scarlett Johansson.
No, a local greased up volleyball team to be the ones that removed the suit at the end of the day and applied baby powder to his crevices. I think that's probably what he insisted on. I don't think he made any modifications to the suit, but can you imagine peeling that off at the end of a day?
I bet he enjoyed it.
Yeah. Because I've seen photographs of him, and they're him with his pot belly in like a grey, because it's like a grey wetsuit, basically, like it's skin tight.
Right,
And,
I'm going to look this up now.
And can you imagine peeling it off? Just the rancid smell of fluids.
I bet they were like, I bet you're going to go and shower now. And, he was like, no.
No. But yeah, it's really quite disturbing. Oh, he doesn't have a codpiece. He wore like sports shorts over the top of the. I think,
yeah. I'm looking at pictures now, yeah.
Probably underneath the sports shorts, though, he probably didn't have any. Like his junk is probably out. Like under, he probably, that's what he did. He had a hole cut out of the wetsuit for his junk and demanded to do it that way. And then they said, James, you have to put on a pair of shorts. We've got the behind-the-scenes photographer here today. And he went, oh, if I must. And that's what happened. Yeah.
I think he had a hole cut out of his suit and his cock was hanging out and he painted that green. so that had like its own role.
Yeah, so that when Mark Ruffalo was on set, he was like, you might think you're the Incredible Hulk, but that's the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, look at it.
Look at it. Look at it again, Ruffalo. No, keep looking at it.
That's been wetter than a ferry boat.
Look, keep looking at it. Don't stop looking at it.
Yeah.
You looked away, Ruffalo. We're no longer friends.
Yeah, now look me in the eyes.
He's just got a solitary line of drool running from his left corner of his mouth down to his left nipple, and it's just landed splosh on the nipple, and it's just hanging there. And Ruffalo is just so disturbed.
Yeah. It's not coming back for the sequel, is it?
But looking at it, Spader was not only on the green screen set, but also actually on the actual set.
Yeah. Emily Olsen's changing room.
Yep.
Probably spent a good few hours just wandering by that.
It is. It is remarkable that even now, with like he's balding, he's overweight, and he's almost permanently greased, that Spader still exudes the kind of sexual carnivorousness that a much younger man would normally. Because I don't know if you've ever seen The Blacklist, but he practically spends the entire show just waving and splashing his cock over anything that moves, and not in an obvious way, like not in a like Boston Legal was Spader being like, oh, I'm going to have sex with everything. In The Blacklist, he's like, I'm going to kill you, but in the back of his head, he's thinking, I'm going to have sex with everything. Like it's a different Spader, but it's the same Spader, if you know what I mean.
Do I fuck it then kill it? Do I kill it then fuck it?
And back and forth and back and forth. And he wears a lot of scarves. You know what I mean? You can always tell something about a man who wears scarves. If a man wears scarves, and I mean when it's spring and summer. I mean, it's in the winter, wear a scarf. That makes sense. But don't flounce around the place. I mean, there's even a photograph of him here wearing a scarf while giving an interview. I mean, there's just no way to be any sleazier than him. Just be like, I'm on morning television. I've got my shirt open and I'm wearing a purple scarf. He's just, he's so wonderful. He's so wonderful. But
that is a guy in tune with who he is.
There was a guy.
It's just like, fuck it, I'm going to wear a scarf. It makes you look sleazy. Yeah. I'm Spader, baby. I can pull it off.
In touch with not only himself, but everyone he comes in contact with.
He's in touch with everybody's loins.
He is. He's probably hanging out with Robert Downey Jr. and Downey's like, could you stop it? I have to be touching you, Robert. Could you
he's the kind of guy who'd just give you a massage.
Yeah, right?
Just walk into the room and just sort of give you a massage, and you'd be like, Spader's here.
And then he'd be like, There's nothing odd, dear boy, about a man giving another man a deep tissue massage.
Yeah, but you did have to put baby oil on, and it's like, oh no, that's Spader oil.
Spader fluids. It's my own version of baby oil.
It's my brand.
But can you imagine if James Spader and Roger Moore had ever done a film together? I mean, every single person within a 10-mile radius would have been more pregnant than anybody's ever been before, I think.
Even the men.
Oh, especially the men.
That's probably how Arnold Schwarzenegger got pregnant in Junior.
What do you think? Do you think they would have teamed up to equally distribute the sleaze, or do you think Roger would have out-sexed Spader and gone, you can have the men, I'm off. Yeah, you're androgynous and weird, James. You're androgynous and weird, James. You can have the men.
I'm old school. I'm all about the pool tank.
I'll, on the other hand, be taking all the ladies out for croissant. Buttery croissant.
The difference was Roger Moore made women sort of, they just looked at him and went, yeah, I'd like a bit of Roger Moore.
Yeah.
With James Spader, I think they look at him and go, oh no, and James Spader goes, oh yes.
You're right. What's the line in this? He says that men slowly fall in love with the people they find attractive, and women slowly find the men they love more attractive as they go on. And I think
I don't know. I'll ask Claire later. I don't think she'd agree.
I don't think she'd agree. She was like, I found you hot when I first met you, but now you're a saggy old bag of piss.
No, I'd actually say she probably likes me more now because I put a weight on.
Yeah.
Because I was quite a skinny prick.
Yeah, you put some weight on. You've got a bit of a Spader gut going on now. You're going to get into
love handles now. Yeah.
You're going to get into a tight grey lycra thing and put some ping pong balls all over yourself and go, hello, my dear. I saw James Spader do this on the set of Age of Ultron. I thought you might like it. What?
Do you think I'm growing a mullet?
So, as we have just a couple of minutes left, any more comments on Sex Lives and Videotapes? I would suggest, if you've never seen it, watch it once. It's not one that I'm going to go back to multiple times, but you should watch it once, right?
Oh, definitely. I will definitely watch it again. I mean, it won't be one that's like sort of, I'm going to watch that again every year or so.
Well, you'll watch it again to take notes, is what you'll do.
I'll watch it again to see how he gets those ladies to make those confessions.
Right.
But I'll definitely watch it again. After I'd watched it, I just kind of thought, oh, well, that was what the big hoo-ha was about. Then it's kind of one that sort of I've thought about during the day. Not wanking. But I thought about it during the day and thought, yeah, it's not. You know what? It's not a bad film at all. It's probably one of James Spader's more understated best performances, I'd say. And I did like the cast. And also, if you're into independent cinema, I think you've got to see it.
Yes, I would agree with all those statements. I would definitely agree with all those statements. But it is a trifle. It's not the work it could be. You almost want to see a movie like this kind of co-written, maybe with a woman, and given just slightly more depth, I think. Because while it's certainly noble in its intentions to kind of highlight how Soderbergh believes a woman might feel in a relationship, it would be nice to have that female
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree there, but it's I'll take Soderbergh writing it over Michael Bay writing it.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, look on IMDb and look at the hair that Soderbergh had at the time. And there is a photo of him and Spader next to each other, almost wearing identical clothing with ridiculous hair. And you kind of go, did Soderbergh record women? Is this really about Soderbergh? Is James Spader a Soderbergh substitute? And it was Soderbergh like, now, James, when you're asking the questions, do it like this, because this is how I did it.
Like, do it like I do. I mean, just
like the character does. Like
I wrote him.
Yeah.
Like me.
But no, it's very good. I like it for what it is, but it's not a massive rewatch for me.
No.
But well worth doing, and I'm glad we finally squeezed it into Sleazy Spader Springtime. It's sort of, when we started Sleazy Spader Springtime, I kind of went, well, let's not do Sex, Lies and Videotape, Crash, and what was the other one that I didn't want to... Like, I didn't want to just do the obvious ones, you know what I mean? But I think it's important to do one every year. We should do that is a slightly sort of more well-known one.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen Crash. Never seen Crash. I've started Crash, but I never got all the way through it.
You've seen bits of Crash.
I ran out of tissues.
Wanking. So what do we think, apart from the tapes, which we assume were probably Spader's tapes anyway, or Soderbergh's tapes, apart from the tapes, what do we think Spader took from this film?
I personally think it was the plant that was on Peter Gallagher's cock.
That is a brilliant answer. He most definitely took that plant and has that plant to this day.
Yeah, he's kept that alive.
Yeah, that's a great answer. That's fantastic. That's going into the Sleazatorium. And I think he probably kept, for his own reasons, something from that gas station bathroom at the beginning. Like,
he's got a fat forest soap with a pube on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he wanted some memory of changing his clothes in a filthy gas station bathroom. So maybe he has the shaving foam he's using and one of the black flouncy shirts, and he's never washed the shirts.
Yeah.
And he just has that and an old rusted can of shaving foam next to the potted plant that Gallagher put his knob on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably it. Lastly, what do we think about the so-called comedic relief Stephen Brill in the bar? He is awful, isn't he?
He's the worst thing about the film.
Isn't he the worst fucking thing about the film?
Is he just supposed to show, like, because you've sort of got, like, sort of soft, sensitive Spader. I know, I never thought I'd utter those words together.
Yeah.
Peter Gallagher, who's a yuppie prick, and
right.
then you've got the guy who's just sort of like a total, you know, trying it on with every woman who walks through the door and just gloriously fails every time. Is it supposed to show, like, this, you're the shitty side of being a man? I don't know, but whatever he's doing in it, it's sort of not working.
Well, do you want to know something interesting? Stephen Brill...
He was nominated for an Oscar for it.
No. Stephen Brill, the least good part of this film, like, he is fucking awful, has directed such classics as Little Nicky, Mr. Deeds, Without a Paddle, Drillbit Taylor, one of the segments from Movie 43, notoriously the worst film ever made, the film Walk of Shame, and then the two Adam Sandler classics, The Do-Over and Sandy Wexler. So
he's got more coming out.
Has he? What's he got coming out?
He's got Too Cool to Be Forgotten, 7:30 Drinks, and Untitled Air Guitar Project. Yeah.
However, he did write and direct Heavyweights, which is really good. So that's annoying.
Heavyweights? What? Who's in?
It's an early. It's like a kids film, but it's actually surprisingly funny. Mo and I covered it on the podcast about 2 or 3 years ago.
Ah, that's a shocker then. So he had like one bit of talent and he made that.
Yeah. But he is so bad in Sex, Lies and Videotape. I don't even know what he's doing in it.
Is he? Do you think he's like a friend of Soderbergh? He's definitely a friend of Adam Sandler.
Yeah. He's also in The Mighty Ducks. How dare he be in the Mighty Ducks?
He's in
So
Batman
annoying.
Returns.
But yeah, he met Adam Sandler on Going Overboard in 1989, the same year as this.
Friendship made in heaven or hell.
Yeah. Has anyone ever seen Going Overboard? It's got like quite a starry cast.
It's got is it Billy Bob Thornton, Billy Zane,
Yeah.
Scott LaRosa,
Peter Berg,
yeah,
Burt Young.
yeah.
But his acting career is certainly better than his writing and directing career, but not by much. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Weird.
look at his acting career, he's not been in some bad films, actually.
Yeah, he's been in some good films, but he's not very good in them. If this film is any... I imagine that he was probably either really in that bar when they were filming, or that Soderbergh was like, well, we need a comic relief. Adam Sandler says this guy's funny, so I'll just have him in and he can improv his lines. But he's awful.
Yeah,
Really awful.
yeah, and it's such an inappropriate surname, Brill.
Yeah, because he's anything but. Anything but. Well, do you have any final words, sir?
No, none. Except thank you for having me on.
Oh, you're always welcome, sir. Always welcome. Thank you for doing it, and thank you for spending another hour talking Sleazy Spader Springtime on this, the After Movie Diner.
Thank you.
And the horn you can hear there is James Spader's knob.
Oh yeah, he knew you were recording about him.
Break your streak on the upright pace. Break your stride on the first day of work. All the clowns and all of the fairground rides will always find a place to lurk. Broke your silence on the social agreement. Broke your toe on a sidewalk stone. Cover up all the holes in this bank vault. This meat has to have its bone somewhere. And when the night grips your leg in its talons, twist and turn screaming into the wind, we can never go back to where it ended, but maybe we can find out where it begins. And I'm never alone, I'm not on the brink. Let's ride this rug through sky blue pink. Hold my hand, don't stop, don't think. We'll beat the traffic and watch the sun sink into the headland. We'll beat the traffic and watch the sun sink into the headland. Hold a note as long as it moves you. There is always a tear in a yawn. Let's lay out all of our possessions on this freshly mowed springtime lawn. You let me